Welcome to this dog training video seminar. After gathering experiences in dog training for 40 years, I am now presenting to you an update of my knowledge with this video, which is based on the Schutzdienst training of Aristo. Let me share my reasons for doing so with you. Winning the Bundesliga for the first time in 1979 and being a straightforward person, I found two things not to be compatible. On the one hand side, dealing with dogs, training dogs, as well as being around with my training friends is one of the most wonderful things in life. But on the other hand, I had a lot of scruples regarding to the way we were treating our animals in training. Therefore, I had made three decisions. First, the ways of training our dogs needed to be improved. Second, the infrastructure in Schäferhundverein needed to be improved. Third, the breeding of shepherds needed to be improved. Looking at the first step, the way of training needed to be improved. This is what I have been doing for 34 years, and here is my update 2005 for you. Looking at the second step, the infrastructure in the Schäferhundverein needed to be improved. I have been working on this for 25 years now. First, we straightened out our Landesgroup, and then we tried to eliminate the arrogance and the disrespectfulness of the leading caste toward the dog handlers. This concern is actually more up to date than ever. Furthermore, we had to establish democracy within the club, what we successfully did in 1990. And we had to regulate the use of the electric collar. Therefore, we participated in creating the outline of the new German animal protection law. Within the Schäferhundverein, we tried 10 years long to find a political solution for this topic. Eventually, we had to fight for our right in court for 5 years, and finally we won. Taking all update knowledge concerning animal protective dog training into consideration, it is not imaginable to train without the modern electric collar. Even though compulsion is a difficult topic in general, training without the electric collar would be equivalent to rejecting the usage of antibiotics in medicine. Looking at the third step, the breeding needed to be improved, and it still needs to. In the beginning of the 1990s, I realized the significant importance of the health aspect. Up till then, I used to be satisfied with permanently repeating that one cannot win a Formula 1 race with a tractor, and that the ideal of pretty and useful will obviously lead to neither pretty nor useful. In December 2002, I was elected to be the breed warden of the Schäferhundverein, and from then on I hoped to give this club more than just good dog sport, but also a chance to catch up the decay of our German Shepherd. Unpleasantly, I had to experience that there was no room left for kynological homework, next to the arrogance, the struggle of power, and the greediness of money of the club's high society. Since 30 years, I'm trying to convince those in charge of the system to maintain the Gebrauchshund. The one who breeds even though he doesn't know a lot about training acts like a blind who is talking about color. The knowledge of training is a basis. Only then you can test all the dogs in specific trials and select the best individuals, which should then be used for breeding. And through this we will hopefully maintain the cultural bond which we are in charge of. To achieve all this, it's inevitable to replace "Who will judge the Hauptzuschau?" as a most frequently asked question in this club. And therefore I want to talk about dog training now. I would like to thank my friend Jörg Wulschläger, and I owe him my greatest respect. With his dog Pablo vom Körbelbach, which had been trained the old school's way, he had been Swiss champion and also competitor in the World Tournament. Nevertheless, he has made the decision to stop training that way and to go through all the stress and struggle of learning all over again, just like a beginner, without any consideration of his success nor age. As everyone knows, relearning something is always more difficult than learning something for the first time. Whatever, all this stress and struggle has already paid out for him. They have not only been the best Swiss team on the Seven Nations competition 2004 and therefore again competitor in the World Tournament 2004, but furthermore Jörg is also Swiss champion again. Jörg felt especially honored as the Schutzdiensthelper from the World Tournament pointed 3 dogs out to be very impressive, and Aristo was one of them. It turned out to be successful to create a way of training which could not only be shown on the TV at 8:15 p.m. because of its being nice, animal protective, and developed by the latest ethological knowledge, but furthermore it's even very successful, as several of my friends already proved during the last years, and as I could also demonstrate by winning my 3rd Bundesliga title last year in 2004. Besides all that, this turned out to be a way of training which simply is fast and effective and easy to copy. The main difference between the old way of training and nowadays training is that in those days we first of all tried to mobilize all the dog's drive, and then through maximum conflict, hence trial and error, we waited for him to find the wide and comfortable islands in between all these confusing situations all on his own. Nowadays we show the dog those wide and comfortable islands straight away through positive reinforcement before he has gone mad because of all his drive. One could say that today we put him on the highway through immediate positive reinforcement, that we then start to accelerate on the highway through intermittent positive reinforcement, and eventually we start to push him away from the highway to cause conflict on purpose, so that we can then compel him back to the highway through negative reinforcement. If he takes a foot away from the highway, it usually becomes uncomfortable. While in former times we permanently had to force the dog onto the highway and he himself always tried to get away from it, he now basically flees onto the highway on his own because he has realized that this is there where he will experience a maximum of comfort. There is a difference in slapping my son so that he will wash my car or let him drive the car since he washed it. The first dog which was systematically trained in this manner, was Enno from Aurelienborn, from my friend Horst Toporek from Berlin. Enno was brought up in Schutzdienst in 17 training sessions. Obviously, instrumental conditioning does not generalize straight away, and what he had learned still needed to be repeated in plenty situations to be generalized. But all the necessary behaviors had been taught and simply needed to be brought back into remembrance shortly before a trial. And we should not forget to mention that Enno was one of the trendsetters of the Standard in Schutzdienst in Siegerprüfung and World Tournament in his years of competing. The agreement with Jörg was similar. At least up to the age of 18 months, Schutzdienst was not to be trained, but only tracking and obedience. Only 2-3 times at the age of 9 to 15 months, the capability and development of the dog was checked, and then approximately at the age of 18 months or later, the whole Schutzdienst training was completed in a block type of training. To achieve this, Jörg drove from Switzerland to my place 3 times, and we trained round about 10 sessions each time. After all, it had taken Jörg and Aristo 24 sessions, which is about 5 hours of work, to pass the Schutzhund 1 trial with 96 points in Schutzdienst. For the first time ever, and that is also what we are quite proud of, we managed to videotape the whole bringing up in Schutzdienst of one dog, and we decided to let you participate in this progress uncut. You will see everything, including all mistakes and failure, uncut, and you will realize how dog and handler developed. I need to ask you for your understanding that it was not possible for us to hire a professional camera team to videotape our training sessions. The takes had to be done at every day and night time, and during all kinds of circumstances. But believe me, our friends on the camera did their very best, and I definitely consider it is more important to show the training process in full length instead of having to leave certain parts out in order to get better quality pictures. Therefore, you will see it the way it works in real life. It's surprising, sometimes alarming, and it also happened to be even amusing to recognize how fast a non-spoiled dog learns and how difficult it is for an experienced dog handler to relearn. I can also already announce to you that in about 2 years another video film about dog training should be published, which will show the 16 exercises in ideal and optimized sequences. Since at the end of 2004 we went into a 10 days training camp with 11 dog handlers and 8 very high talented dogs, and worked with these dogs quite effectively, and in about 2 years, when those dogs are going to be presented in a bigger trial, the video should be available as an educationally documentation. Before you start watching this 5-hour video, you should fulfill certain qualifications to be able to fully understand everything in details. The lecture of my first book, Der Schutzhund, is recommended for comprehension. Unfortunately, it's out of print by now, but Jürgen Rixen happened to print the theoretical part in the magazine Der Gebrauchshund. To everyone who is interested in the beginnings of modern dog training, I can give out the advice to take a look at my first video seminar, Der Schutzdienst, which was published in the early 80s. Besides that Jürgen Rixen also distributes the video seminar Pressing im Schutzdienst in German as well as in English, and Triebwechsel im Schutzdienst, those two describe the basics of drive and learning, which is definitely a must for the complete and understanding of this cooking book of dog training.